Canada is beefing up its border security with U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration now just 4 days away.
The joint fight against illegal drugs, particularly fentanyl. We have been working on this for a number of years, but there are a number of measures that we're going to be able to step up on and do more on. That's extremely important to the incoming administration.
And we're starting early. On Friday, tomorrow, the RCMP is going to patrol the Canada-U.S. border using 2 new military helicopters. There are new X-rays to detect drugs to follow. These measures come as Canada's premiers met with Justin Trudeau yesterday to hash out Canada's united response to a threat of 25% tariffs on Canadian goods. For a closer look at what we could be expecting, we're joined this morning by international trade expert and lawyer Mark Warner. Good morning.
Morning.
All right, so both Ottawa and several provinces have announced new border security measures since Trump first made that tweet back on November 25th. And at that point, he linked the tariff threat to border security issues. We've heard less of that now, more of the 51st state, but the tariff line is still there. Trump's only escalated this rhetoric since then. Are these new measures, these border measures, do we expect them to make any difference?
I don't really think so. I mean, I think that Trump was, probably just throwing something out that's out there in terms of the migration and the fentanyl trade. And he was happy to see a very quick response and probably read the room a little bit and realized that Canada he could make more demands of Canada. And I think that's essentially what he's done.
So Ottawa said they haven't ruled out any response option. That includes export restrictions. And, I know you were watching this yesterday. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith does not want to use Alberta's oil and gas as a bargaining chip. Premier Furey says that oil and gas is our queen, that needs to be protected. But it sounds like Ottawa and the Prime Minister want to use it as our biggest leverage gear here. So who's right?
Well, I think the thing is you have to make a credible threat when you threaten someone, and you've got to make a threat that you're actually willing to go through with in order for it to be credible. Oil and gas is tricky because if you're talking about oil and gas from Alberta and from out west, it's really shipped through pipelines that cross through the United States and then re-enter under Lake Michigan, re-enter Ontario and get supplied to Eastern Canada through Quebec. So it's kind of like cutting off your nose to spite your face. So I don't know if that's really a credible threat. Or if it's just, sort of collective suicide. But, I'm not sure how big that one is. And is that really worth the cost of national unity as well?
Yeah, can I get you to explain more on that? Because that's the line that Danielle Smith is using as well, that this is a real challenge to national unity and that it really would be cutting off our nose to spite our face. So does she have a point there in not signing on?
Oh, I think so. I think that she's right to be clear on it. I do get the point from, I think Premier Ford says that we shouldn't take anything off the table in advance. And I guess that goes to the point of maximum leverage. But again, a threat's only credible if the person on the other side of you thinks that you might actually do it. I think the Americans would look at that and say, would the Canadians really stop selling oil and gas through that pipeline to their East Coast in a very cold country as we approach February? I think Americans wouldn't take that too seriously.
Something else that Ontario Premier Ford said yesterday was Canada first and country first. He also says a 25% tariff could affect 500,000 jobs in Ontario. Where is that number from?
I don't know where the number is actually coming from. There are lots of kind of economic estimates of these things that are, punched into computers. I have to say, I've never been a huge fan of those sort of quantitative things. I think the main point is it will hurt. It will hurt a lot of, a lot of our economy and our GDP comes from trade with the United States. That's a lot of sectors. The one number that I saw that resonated with me, I guess last year, was an estimate from Scotiabank that if we responded in kind to the Trump tariffs, the hit on the GDP would be almost over 5%. And I think that if you think about that, 5% off the Canadian GDP, that's got to hurt. That's got to hurt a lot of people.
Mark Warner, so much to be watching for ahead of Monday. And of course, we're going to have lots of analysis after we find out more about what it looks like in the Trump era. Thanks so much for joining us, Mark.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
If you liked that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.